I don't care what the producer says, it still looks Greek to me.
Illinois Adventure is made possible in part by a grant from Country Insurance and Financial Services.
Today on Illinois Adventure, we'll visit a German settlement that has retained its character. Follow the human journey across time and the continents. Tee off at a course that meanders through some impressive landscape. Plus, discover some of this state's historical roots. All this on Illinois Adventure. They are evidence of mankind's journey across time and continents. There are also different cultural approaches to the same questions. Questions of meeting basic needs, communication, preserving history, and of the afterlife. Hello, I'm Jim Wilhelm. Surrounding me are the galleries housing just part of the massive collection of the Spurlock Museum. Located on the campus of the University of Illinois in Urbana, it's a facility which traces its roots back to the late 1800s. In 1874, in order to expose students to famous works of art, the university's first president, John Milton Gregory, commissioned plaster casts of hundreds of European works. Those pieces eventually became the nucleus of a small campus art gallery. While some of those casts are on display here, this facility is much broader in scope than the old Fine Arts Museum. Today, visitors to the Spurlock Museum are offered glimpses of cultures from around the globe. For example, this gallery holds artifacts representing societies from Asia, which includes the Oceania area. One of the most imposing pieces is this ancestor mask from New Guinea. It's reflective of a belief system where departed family members are accessible by the living. From the island of Baui in Indonesia comes this Barong Ket mask. It too demonstrates how the spiritual world is thought to influence everyday life. It was part of a religious ceremony designed to protect the villages by driving out evil forces. At the East Asian area stands two life-size replicas of terracotta soldiers discovered at the elaborate tomb of China's first emperor. That burial complex has over 6,000 of these warriors and is yet to be fully uncovered. In addition to examining religious beliefs, these exhibits also look at family life, technology, education, trade. Speaking of which, did you know that printed paper money originated in China? In the trade section, several Chinese coins are on display. There are some with square holes in the center so they could be strung together for easier handling. And for a time, tea was so valuable that dried leaves were molded into bricks and used as a medium of exchange. From Japan comes this wedding kimono from the Taisho period. It was worn by a lady of nobility, as evidenced by the two phoenixes on the back. The presence of one male and one female bird denotes a privileged class. Hand embroidered in colored silk, this kimono is adorned with 5 mon, or family crests. The number of crests indicates how formal the gown is. 3 would have been considered semi-formal. Welcome back to the Spurlock Museum, located on the campus of the University of Illinois in Urbana. This is a gallery of ancient Mediterranean culture, where several of the casts, which were first displayed in 1874, can be seen. This one is of the Trojan priest Laocoon and his sons, carved in the 1st century of the Common Era. The story is that Laocoon argued against accepting the gift of the wooden horse from the Greeks. Angered by this, the Greek god Poseidon sent a serpent to kill him and his family. Creating casts from works of art was a common practice in the late 1800s. But as travel became more common, many museums no longer saw the need for unoriginal art, and they destroyed those casts. That made the few remaining casts valuable records of past restorations or alterations. For example, when this piece was found during the Renaissance era, 3 arms were missing, and they were restored at that time. Subsequent investigations revealed that the restoration of the 3 arms was inaccurate, and they were removed from the original. So this becomes a 3D record of how this statue appeared to many generations. But the most poignant examples are the panels cast from molds made in the 1780s of the frieze motif that surrounds the Parthenon in Athens, a building that is probably one of the most famous structures left from ancient Greece. What makes these casts interesting to scholars is that there are details on them which no longer exist on the original. In 1795, war destroyed several sections of the famed building, and in the years since, weather and acid rain have taken its toll. While historians have debated the subject matter for generations, most agree that the frieze depicts a procession in celebration of the goddess Athena's birthday. Of course, the Parthenon was a temple to her and housed a gold and ivory statue of Athena. Also on display are examples of pottery, from those found in burial chambers to those used during special events, such as vases commissioned by the state to be presented to the winners at the Pan-Athenic Games held in honor of Athena. Typically, these pieces featured a likeness of Athena and also a depiction of an event, in this case a foot race. These vases were designed to hold the prize for the winners, olive oil, a valuable commodity back then. This is a gallery of Middle Eastern culture, which includes a Mesopotamian society, whose bureaucratic clay records are a scholar's delight. Historians have unearthed over 500,000 clay tablets with a form of writing on them known as cuneiform script. These tablets recorded everything from business and government transactions to religious dedications. Here's one that lists the numbers of women that worked at a mill, their wages, which were paid in measures of barley, and names their supervisors. And this tablet is an accounting of the daily offerings given by the king to one temple. But cuneiform is only one type of writing from the Middle East on display here. One of the greatest archaeological discoveries in Egypt occurred when scientists discovered a dump where thousands of papyri had been thrown away. Among the fragile scraps of text, poems, and plays, they discovered this small fragment. It's the earliest example of script from the New Testament and comes from the book of James. Also in this gallery is the Egyptian section, which examines that society's beliefs in the afterlife and the evolution of the burial chambers. In addition, the museum has on exhibit the mummy of a pre-adolescent. Some mummified persons, like this one, had their heads covered by a burial mask made of cartonnage. It was a material similar to papier-mâché, and it was molded and painted to resemble the deceased person. At that time, mummification was thought to be necessary so that there could be a body for the life after death. Unfortunately, many of them were unearthed in later periods, not only for scientific studies, but to be ground into powder for medicines. We're now in a gallery that explores the Indian cultures of both North and South America. For the indigenous peoples of the Americas, as with other cultures, understanding the present and the future meant remembering the past. Traditionally, that information was handed down orally or depicted graphically on the decorations of everyday items. On this hide is a diagram of the Battle of Little Big Horn drawn by Chief One Bull, who participated in the fight. Here the women and children crowd together as Chiefs One Bull, White Bull, and Good Bear ride with war clubs raised to meet Major Reno. Another highly prized item that would have been passed down through generations is this bear claw necklace. There were only 2 ways to own one of these: either kill the bear and make one, or kill the warrior who was wearing one. So what began as a study in classical art has grown into a multicultural experience with presentations in 5 featured galleries. And as unfamiliar as some of these artifacts may appear, they demonstrate how much we all have in common. Throughout the year, the museum offers special lectures, performances, and classes, as well as changing exhibits. For more information on the Spurlock Museum and its programs, log on to their website at www.spurlock.uiuc.edu.